So, big news on the WRC front. Wait, is that better? Can you hear me? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Marcus Grönholm is going to be back in WRC in Finland. Well, not kind of. Not technically going to be back in a competition manner, so to speak. Be more of an exhibition type deal. He's going to run one leg of the, or one stage, something like that. Something to that effect. Or I think he's going to run before the WRC cars, the WRC 1 cars come out. Basically clean the road. That's the way that I understood it. I may be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But regardless, Marcus Grönholm is going to be back in Finland in a rally car, a Rally 2 Skoda, and that is awesome. If you don't know who Marcus is, he's a legend of the sport. I think multiple-time champion, pretty sure. He's won a ton of rallies. The man's a legend. When I was a kid, I was a huge fan. He was a factory Peugeot driver for a while. And if you notice, the banner on our YouTube page is of a Peugeot from, I believe, 2002-ish. And the reason that's there is because of Marcus Grönholm. I'm a big fan, so I'm pretty stoked about this. I'm just going to personally petition for him to make a full-time return. I mean, he's not too old. He can still do it. I think he's in his 50s now. Hey, man, still spring chicken. Come back full-time. You don't have to worry about Rally 1. Just do it in Rally 2. That would be sick. If you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, or anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, racing memorabilia of any kind, make sure to check out our eBay. The link is in the description. We have a sale going on right now and for the foreseeable future. And if you see something that you're interested in, shoot me an offer and we'll make a deal. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I have a Corey Day t-shirt. I'm not wearing it right now, obviously, but I have a Corey Day t-shirt, and the way that the font and everything is, it says Corey Day on the front, and it's got a sprint car on the back. And the way that the font looks, it looks like it says Coors Light. I love that shirt. Wear it all the time. And I've had several people make fun of me, like, why are you wearing a Corey Day t-shirt? That guy's no good, and yada, yada, yada. Well, who's laughing now, beaches? Because if you missed the truck race last night, he finished P2, his best finish in the truck series. Now, admittedly so, he's not been running all that great since he started this year in the trucks, and he's a Hendrick development driver. Been driving for Spire in the trucks, and I think he's run a couple of Xfinity races. I know he's ran in Trans Am. I watched him, I think, at Mid-Ohio. And he's getting his legs up underneath, his feet up underneath him. He's getting warmed up. I'm telling you, it's going to be the start of something special. He's going to be really, really. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to. He did a really good job at IRP, finished in second. But that's just one race. Let's see what he can do when they go back to another mile and a half or a bigger track. I think short tracks is something that he's familiar with and comfortable in. And I'm not taking away from the fact that he finished second. That's awesome. I was torn emotionally because it would have been really cool to see him win. But I'm also a really big Lane Riggs fan. I know some people who are pretty close to him, and they're all awesome. So, I will always be a Lane Riggs fan through and through. So I was torn. But, it worked out pretty good. Second place is nothing to hang your head about. I just got done watching the Xfinity race, if you can call it a race. Absolute... I mean, I don't even know. I hate to complain all the time, but, the racing that was taking place was pretty good. But all the nonsense that happened in and around that was just so frustrating to me because, they ended up having caution for rain, and they ran around for a little while under caution for that. And when they went back to green, Kyle Larson ended up taking out Justin Allgaier, not intentionally, but took him out of the lead. And then Connor Zilic ended up winning the race. And, more power to him. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. But The issue that I have is, you know, the last stage break that they had, they started having accidents after that. Okay. And if the stage breaks had never happened, there never would have been an interruption for rain. If the stage breaks had never happened, Justin Allgaier or Kyle Larson would have won the race, and rightfully so, because they were the best two cars. So the stage breaks, you know, they're bad enough, but then they throw the caution for them and they run around for 20 minutes under caution. For what purpose? Why? Why do you have to run around under caution for 20 minutes? It's ridiculous to me. I don't get it. You know, and then they go back out there and everybody, because it's towards the end of the race at Indy, everybody's driving over their heads and taking each other out. And it brings me to another point as far as Kyle is concerned. You know, number one, I feel like Cup drivers, if they're going to compete in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, I feel like they need to compete for teams that are not affiliated with Cup teams. So, like, if Kyle's going to run an Xfinity race, he's going to run for somebody like Alpha Prime. Or, you know, any team that doesn't have a Cup affiliation. Similar deal in the Truck Series. If that were the case, I would have no problem with those guys running in the lower series. But as it stands now, they come down to the Xfinity Series. Like, Kyle was in a Hendrick car today. So, like, obviously he's going to run up front and probably win the race, or at least be in contention to win the race. But another problem that I have is those guys going down to the Xfinity Series and wrecking Xfinity regulars. You know, that win today, outside of it being like the 100th win for Junior Motorsports, would have been massive for Justin Allgaier and his family. You could tell the disappointment in his voice and his demeanor and everything after the race or after when he was interviewed after the accident. That would have been huge, and it may have been huge for Kyle too. I don't know. I don't even know if he's won at Indy or not, because I don't pay that close attention. But as I'm not a massive, you know, Kyle Larson fan, I don't have anything personal against him. I'm just not he's just not. I've not gravitated towards him for whatever reason. And, you know, I would prefer guys, if they're going to come down in that series, run for regular teams, and don't take out the regulars, man. Like, he put himself in a position when that accident happened with Justin. It was inevitable. It was going to happen. That brings me on to another point that happened, speaking of accidents. Austin Hill ended up hooking Eric Almirola late in the race, turned him into the fence. Pretty high-speed crash, pretty bad crash. Now, you could see from Austin was wearing white gloves, so you could see him turn the wheel and intentionally run into Eric and hooked him in the right rear, turned him into the fence. You would think that would be a suspension for next week, based on the penalties that everyone prior to Austin Cindric received. Now, Austin Cindric did the same thing to Ty Dillon at COTA, and by Cup team standards received a slap on the wrist. He wasn't suspended. I think he was docked some points and some money. NASCAR keeps shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to stuff like this. Like, these penalties need to be cut and dry. Doesn't matter if you're going 5 mile an hour or if you're going 150 mile an hour. It needs to be the same penalty across the board. If you hook someone in the right rear intentionally, turn them into the fence, you get parked for a week. That's just the way it should be. It shouldn't be, oh, well, you know, he was going slower. Because then it kind of looks like, and it may not be the case, but just from you know, the optics of it and what people could say, and you've opened the door for this to be said, is that Austin Cindric drives for Roger Penske and he's getting preferential treatment from the sanctioning body. That may not actually be the case. I don't know. And, you know, I'm not behind the scenes. I'm not in those rooms for those meetings and those decisions. That's just the way that it looks on paper, you know, just from an outsider's perspective. And it shouldn't be that way. Okay, someone right rear somebody, you're parked for the next week. And if that happens with Austin Hill, I just want to say this. Like, this is my suggestion for a relief driver. I say either Mason Massey, Landon Huffman, LeVar Scott, and y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but Patrick Emmerling. Because here's the thing about Patrick. Patrick is one hell of a modified driver. Okay? Now, what he's done in Xfinity, you can't really grade him on that because he's been driving for his and Joey Gase's team, which is small, extremely shoestring budget, underfunded team compared to everybody else. Okay, so you can't look at what he's done in that car and be like, oh, he's terrible. Yeah, I mean, they don't have the same resources that everybody else does, so obviously they're not going to run up front for wins. But I think it would be pretty cool. But what's likely going to happen, what likely is going to happen is they're going to put someone like Butterbean or, I don't know, somebody else in the ARCA series currently. You know, whatever. But I would certainly love to see Mason Massey get a shot in a good car. That would be awesome. A similar deal with Landon. Those guys have been hustling, trying to make it happen. And I think they're both pretty good. Someone tried to argue with me the other day that Mason's pretty terrible or whatever. And Alpha Prime is not a top shelf team. Okay, so again, just like with Patrick Emmerling and that team, you can't really measure on face value. You just can't. So I don't know. Be interesting to see. But what does need to happen for sure is Austin Hill needs to be parked. And if that doesn't happen, there needs to be a complete uproar from the fans. Like, the only way that NASCAR changes their procedures, the only way that any sanctioning body changes their procedures is if we say something. So, I also want to touch on this. Australia, they had a GT4 series race last night. And I'll see if I can find the link, and I'll put the link in the description so you can watch the video, see what I'm talking about. But they had an accident. They had two accidents in the same corner, essentially back to back. One of the Mercedes going into I think it's Sandown is where they're racing. You go into a hard left-hand corner, and you kind of swing out to the right, and you hit the curb, and then shoot down to the apex of the corner. I think it was getting kind of wet, so it was a little slick. And so these guys kept hitting that curb on the outside and immediately losing control when they turned left to hit the corner. And one Mercedes spun out, kept going, or finally got going after traffic pass. And then another Mercedes, and it was like synchronized. He came in and did the exact same thing. So he was sitting there waiting for the track to clear so he could get going. And you could see on camera that there was the marshals in the corners waving the yellow flags. About a quarter mile back up the racetrack before you even got to the scene of the accident, they were waving the yellows. And this kid in this BMW comes down through there, and he gets right to the scene of the accident. He's behind a Porsche, and it's almost like he just never noticed the yellow flags and ran all over the back of the Porsche, plucked the right front out of the BMW, and he was out of the race. That's another one of those things as far as penalties go. I think in a situation like that, I know GT4 is, it's basically an amateur class. You're learning, the rules of the trade and everything. But to not slow down under a yellow and just clean somebody out, and then he almost hit the Mercedes that was still sitting there as well. I think you need to come down hard on that because yes, these kids are learning, but that's also part of learning. If they're not penalized heavily for a safety infraction, which is what that is, they're going to keep making those same stupid, those same rookie mistakes, basically. Excuse me for saying stupid. It's not stupid. Like I said, the kids are learning, but you need to come down heavy-fisted on that, and I don't know, a monetary fine, maybe a points fine, or maybe a grid penalty, because I think they're racing again tonight. I don't know, but it's just silly to me for something like that to happen, because that's pretty basic. Even with being in an amateur class or whatever, that's just basic stuff, man. You see the yellow flag, abreast your speed, slow down, before you get yourself or somebody else in a bad situation. But anyways, if you enjoyed listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, or anything else, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. The works, like I've told you guys before, guys and gals, we're in a copyright strike currently and will be for next couple weeks. So if you wouldn't mind sharing this video, telling your friends, shout it from the rooftops, what have you, because our reach is very limited while these copyright strikes are still attached to our page. So if you are interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, any kind of racing memorabilia, or anything else for that matter, I'm literally looking at a cashmere coat right now. Black, brown fur. It's a heavy coat, let me say that. It's heavy, but it's nice. Check out our eBay. The link is in the I have the hardest time saying the link is in the description. I don't know why. I have the hardest time spitting that out. But the link is in the description. I'm just gonna have to come up with a different way of saying that. That's just all there is to it. But make sure to check it out. We got a sale going on right now, and if you see anything you're interested in, shoot me an offer, and we'll go from there. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. It means a lot, you guys and gals. And until next time, God bless. Peace.